This is a regular scheduled Macedonia Council meeting, and we're about 3 minutes late. It's about 7:33, and I'd ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Bilkey?
Here.
Mr. Engel?
Here.
Ms. Hannikin?
Here.
Mr. Molnar?
Here.
Ms. Tully? Here.
Okay, at this time, I would ask that our chaplain, Tom O'Brien, please lead us in prayer and then pledge allegiance thereafter. Please rise.
Gentlemen, please uncover, and with bowed heads, let us pray. Almighty God, hear our prayers as we gather this evening for our city council meeting. We ask for your guiding hands to aid our council members so they may work together on various programs and projects that are embraced by our community. Give our council members the transparency needed by their constituency, and in return, allow the members of our community to show respect for our mayor and council members so that they may perform their duties. We ask you, Almighty God, that you shower your blessing on all our city employees who work tirelessly to ensure that the work of the council and mayor is carried out in a professional manner. Lastly, God Almighty, we ask that you embrace those members of our community who suffer from mental or physical illness, as well as those who suffer from financial hardship. Amen. And now, with hand over heart, please place the American flag and join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaplain. But I want to take this moment in time here to talk about an individual that sat next to the watchdog over there for many, many, many years, and that's Mike Kronjak, who just recently passed away. And Mike has been a very dedicated attendant, if you will, to council meetings as far back as I can remember, back when I was a councilman back in the early 80s, 81, and moving forward from then forward here. He was always there, just like Chuck. So that seat is going to be missed, and seeing him sitting there each and every meeting. They're having services, by the way, for him on this Saturday at 10 o'clock, I believe, at Our Lady of Guadalupe. He was a longtime usher there, and he certainly is going to be missed at church as well. So to his family and to all those that knew Mike, we're really going to miss you, and may your soul rest in peace.
Just to piggyback on that, I met Mike through this process, and I can tell you he was a good man, and I didn't know until about probably a year ago that he was a war hero, essentially. Our fire chief, and Chief Black, I'm going to put you on the spot here, took him on the Honor Brigade, is it called?
Honor Flight.
Honor Flight. Can you
Yes.
touch on some of his accomplishments?
Yeah, they were many. So I took him. I had the privilege of taking him on the Honor Flight, where we flew him to Washington D.C. and visited all of the monuments there. And I got to hear many, many stories. A lot of them I can't really repeat because they were of stuff that had to be done during wartime. So, but Mike enjoyed it very, very much, and we did go over a lot of stories. And like I say, I can't go through, but he did tell me the story of when he won his medal and went through all of that. So. He was a type of person that didn't talk about that very much, and we talked for a very long time after that, and I gained a lot of respect for what they did for this country, and it's totally underestimated by, and we can't fathom what was done by those people, because unless you're there in those situations, you can't fathom. So some of the stuff that was quite dramatic. So. That's all I can really say. He had a good time, and it energized him, and it was certainly an honor to take him there.
It was also World War II, correct?
Yes.
And he served along a very famous general. if I wasn't mistaken.
Yes, he got to meet General Patton, actually. He pulled up in a Jeep, and I will tell you that story. He pulled up in a Jeep, and he said, he stood up in the Jeep, and he addressed Mike's crew that was there, and he said, if I catch anybody harming an elderly person in this country, if I catch you defacing or bothering any women, I will shoot you myself. And Mike said, we believed him. We certainly believed him. So he said, you know, and he got stuck. They took an airport over there that they had to take over, and they got trapped inside. And he said Patton and his tanks came and got them out. And so there was many stories like that.
Also, he was a boxer, and he just told me the story the last time I saw him, unfortunately, that there was a famous boxer, and his name slips mine. I think it was one of the old Italian famous boxers.
Rocky Marciano?
Marciano. And he said that they were somewhere in the military, and most people don't know Mike was a boxer. And he said that he actually got a chance to go in the ring with him and thought that, you know, he was a young, tough guy. And he told me, he goes, Nick, I learned my lesson the hard way. He knocked me out. You know, so it was pretty cool to hear his stories, and, you know, he will be missed, and he was also awarded the Purple Heart. So I miss him sitting there when we walk in every day. It's going to be sad.
All I can say is that when he gets to the gates, or when he got to the gate, I should say, of heaven, he was probably so feisty. You know, he probably drove Gabriel crazy. But that was Mike, and we're going to miss him. So, thank you. Okay, we'll move on then to our approval of our minutes of our public hearing and regular meeting of July 27, 2017, and our special meeting of July 31st, 2017.
Make a motion accepting the minutes of July 27th and July 31st, 2017.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain from the 27th.
Abstain from both.
Okay, we have 2 abstentions with the majority, and the motion carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the financial report, acknowledging receipt of the financial report dated May 31st, 2017, June 30th, 2017, and July 31st, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we acknowledge receipt of those financial reports.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Again, are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is public comments. So if there's anyone in the audience, which I see we have like 4 people that are on the agenda here, or on the list here, so I'm going to call on Vinny Ventura first. Vinny, please step forward, come to the mic and state your name and address.
Good evening. Vinny Ventura, 1479 Bruce. I would just like to commend the mayor and his administration on their follow-through pending the passage of the levy in May, and that the streets are out there being paved, and I believe everybody notices that. And thanks to Joe Gilardi also, you know, our building engineer, for making this happen and getting it expedited. I think you are to be commended on that. That is just, you know, exactly what the residents needed to see. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, they're certainly seeing where their tax dollars are being spent, that's for sure. So we're happy to get it done. Mary Lieben.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Mary Lieben, 1066 Berkshire. I'm new at this, so I don't know what the procedure are. But the first thing is I just want to state that I'm really disappointed that the height of the buildings has passed, which I did not realize that it was passed already, because that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. I moved here 31 years ago from Bedford Heights. I lived in Bedford Heights for 12 years, which was a beautiful little community. Everybody got along. It was really great. And then that's exactly what they did in Bedford Heights. They went with higher buildings, add on a floor here, add on a floor there. And then they wanted to build a senior citizens residence. So they put 3 apartment buildings up and called them senior citizens apartment, which was at the end of my street. A year later, they turned them into apartments, which everybody from Cleveland came in to live there because they were cheap. They were inexpensive, and crime started to happen in Bedford Heights. So much so that we had to move. So we moved to Macedonia 31 years ago. There was one stoplight on 82. It was a beautiful community, and now I'm really upset that we are going to be adding. And I know that you tried to explain that to me last time. I wasn't quite satisfied with your answer because you said that other residentials or other businesses would be able to request it, but it would be up to you to say whether they could get it or not. And how do we know that who's going to get it and who isn't, and how many of these buildings are going to go up? And I think that there are some other higher buildings that are set to go up in Macedonia. So can you explain that?
I will explain that. First off, don't confuse the height of a building with the zoning. Zoning is what dictates whether or not they can be apartments or whether they're senior housing or what have you. Apparently, when Bedford Heights passed whatever they didn't have a restriction on what the use of the building could be. Macedonia has a restriction. And by the way, if you want apartments in Macedonia, you have to have a referendum change, meaning you cannot change anything that is an R1 in our community to anything unless it goes to the voters. So it has to have voter approval. So we can't just arbitrarily go out there and say, well, we want apartments. You can't do that. You have to have voter approval. That was something which I have to say that I'm proud to say that I was behind many years ago because I had the same fears as you currently have. When we created the zoning back and changed the zoning back in the, going back into the 70s actually, we were very mindful of the height and all of the other issues that were concerned. And as I explained to you at our last meeting, when we passed that the height would only be a maximum of 35 feet, that was because we didn't have aerial trucks. We didn't have the fire suppression systems that we currently have today in all new buildings. So therefore, it makes it a lot easier to build a building that's higher, but that doesn't mean that just because the building is higher, that it's going to ultimately be an apartment building. It could be any kind of building. It could be an office building. It could be, and in this case, for the Marriott, who wants to go up one story higher because it meets their current and future prototype of buildings that they are building in the Marriott chain. So, personally, I agree with you. I do not want to see apartments. I've never wanted to see apartments as such unless they are for senior housing or restricted type of housing. And as you may know, in this community, the word apartments has been taboo. There have been people that have been voted out of office over the issue of putting in apartments. And I'm not here to advocate apartments. I'm here to advocate another story on a building that is a commercial building, not an apartment building.
So that won't be changed.
So no, I don't think that you need to fear. You need to fear zoning changes,
Well,
This is
not height changes.
okay.
One of the things
Okay,
we
so
did
what
with-
is it? I'm sorry.
One of the things we did with zoning was not only in the residential, it has to be approved not only by the multitude of residents, it has to be approved by that
Precinct.
district or ward.
Precinct, yeah.
So even if everybody in Macedonia says yes, but Ward 1 says no, in that precinct, it doesn't pass. So you have a say in your own backyard, and that was added,
That was added, that was
15 years
my
ago.
charter amendment, by the way.
yeah, that was about 15 years ago.
Yeah, a long time, no,
No,
it was,
no.
no, it was
Way long.
way
Yeah.
long
I know I
time ago.
voted on it. How long ago? Oh, man, now you're making
91,
me
92.
Yes.
Well,
In fact, that haunted me, because when I came in to do the Villas of Taormina, which turned out to obviously be a very beautiful community, it passed throughout the entire city and failed in that precinct. I think it was that project, wasn't it? Yeah, it was that
A couple
project.
times it failed.
Yeah,
Yep.
it failed.
Okay, so now what is this going to do to the aesthetics of Macedonia? So you have
Aesthetics?
other buildings coming in at 4 floors, maybe 5
Well,
floors,
I-
and then you have these smaller and it's like,
I think it's going to be on the basis of a conditional, and we are currently going to hold off on, it's already passed in the B1, but we're going to hold off on the legislation that's before us right now and just give it whatever, a second reading or whatever.
Hold it at second.
Or hold it at second for further discussion on that. But it's going to be on the basis of a conditional. So, I mean, just not anybody can come in and say, well, I want to build a 4-story building in front of this 1-story building. That's not going to occur. It's got to be reasonably approached. And my feeling is that if it's like the Marriott where they want to go next to the Girl Scout, which is a 2-story building, and across from Vista Springs, which is a 3-story building, that it will blend. You know, it doesn't affect anything. It's up against the freeway. And that's my feeling. We shouldn't allow a 3 or 4-story building to go up, even under the current code, go up next to a 1-story building or cause it to block a 1-story building that may be there. So it's got to fit.
okay,
It's got to fit.
thank you.
You know, so the planning commission is charged with that, and they're the ones that are going to really be dealing with it into the future.
Just let me make one comment on all this. There are apartments in Macedonia, called the Enclave at this point. And that was not a result, in fact, the residents opposed that, but there was a court settlement that permitted the building of those apartments. They are not multi-story. However, coming right down to it, we're talking about a change in all of the zoning of the business districts, number one, and not when we say, well, we won't allow that. We are all on this panel are at the age, except for perhaps 2 of us, where we're not going to affect everything in the long term. And there are new people come in, new interpretations of what's going on, and when you permit this kind of thing without a real consideration and a real plan that shows exactly what you're doing, and we did have an alternative proposal, which was not discussed, which was to look at a different way of handling, permitting some taller buildings that Mr. Repak presented. I do think we need to have a plan laid out, and I think we do need to have some way of evaluating what we're really going to get ourselves into, not just now, but 10 years from now. So that's my
And I think that
comment.
was part of the future growth,
Yeah.
whatever we
Yeah.
called it. My apologies. The future growth was looking at what would you like to see. Those were, and pardon me, but I assume you were lumping me into the other person. I don't plan on leaving for quite a while, so I may want to move into an apartment. What do I look for? Actually, but I think the Future Growth Committee was looking very much at what do we want to see in the zoning? What kind of buildings would we want to see in the zoning? What do we want our town to look like in 10, 20 years? So I think that was a consideration. That's why we're keeping all the other business districts at a second reading. I went to look at what are the districts? Where are they? Because that becomes important to see what is surrounding those business districts. And one of them is over, it's by the Get-Go and the Mexican restaurant. Well, there's a very nice motel on that side of the street also. So you've got to look at, no, this is the nice one. Not the other side
not
of the
the other
street.
side.
It's
Well-
that side of the street. It's across from, I
Let
know
me-
what you were thinking, Chad.
Let me say
But
that
that's where you look at, and it butts freeways. So maybe do you consider there because it's that small section? But do you then not consider along 82? Because we have houses that abut behind Taco Bell, behind First Watch and that. So I think that's why council's very much taking a cautious look and holding it at second reading for all the other business districts to talk about where does it really fit. Even if it's planning has to approve it, zoning has to approve it, you still want to have a cautious look of, do I even want to allow it?
And you know, the other thing too, and I'm not going to minimize this, but the fact is that the city is about 90% built out. It really is. Yeah, there's no more room.
Well, there is at Highland and,
I mean, we're doing some redevelopment projects, and we're working on those. But if you look at the land mass in our city, you're not going to see any more large subdivisions necessarily in being built in our city. We're down to the nitty gritty. I defy you to find the land in the city that you can do a large project. You're just not going to be able to do it. And look at our commercial district. Look at what is currently our commercial district throughout our city. You go up and down 82, Alexandria Square is the last bit of commercial property. Could we use more? Yeah, because I get calls all the time. But there is no more. So when you get off the corridor of 82, the only other areas is what we have at the intersection of Route 8 and Highland.
what about South Bedford and Highland? Where that
That's
corner
that's
is for
industrial.
sales.
That's industrial right
Okay.
there. Yeah, so it's light, I believe it falls into a light industrial area there. So we really don't, when you think about it, you really don't have it. Now, there are going to be some projects that are being proposed that may, and I can't let this out of the bag yet, but there is maybe a project, but it's in an area that you would think would be totally industrial, and it's not going to be near any residential. So, and that's probably one of the largest tracts left in the city. And I'll certainly keep everybody informed as we get and move forward on that. John, do you want to stand up, or do you want to?
Well, I'm ready.
You're ready? Come on. We're ready for you.
Let me just make one comment. The Future Growth Committee did not ask for taller buildings. In fact, they say the building should be 2 stories. Go ahead. I brought it.
Yes, John.
Hi, John Liebman, 1066 Berkshire, following my wife up here. Okay, several subjects that I got, and I haven't just added one on. Why is it that we needed another donut shop? You got a Dunkin' Donuts in Twinsburg, Dunkin' Donuts in Macedonia, Dunkin' Donuts that you're gonna be adding. There's a small mom and pop donut shop that's right across from the ice cream place. I don't remember what the name of it is. I've gone in there a number of times. You got stands. There's a number of them around. What in the heck do we need another Dunkin' Donuts for?
Well, you know.
This is not a smart comment. Okay?
Well, you know, John, the only thing I can reply on that is that we live in a democratic society, and we have free enterprise, and we as a city cannot dictate. If somebody wants to bring in a Burger King and put a McDonald's next to it and a Wendy's next to that, we can't say no. You understand?
We did to Myers?
No, Myers.
All of you did to Myers.
To Myers Food Store?
Yes.
No, we didn't say no to Myers because we have no right to say it's not in Macedonia.
Well, they were against it.
But,
Okay, let me phrase it that way.
since you brought Myers up, I'm going to tell you they're back at the table. So
They're
Myers is coming back.
Okay.
But
you
it's a
listening?
Northfield Center project. And it's probably likely going to be put into the JED, which then will give Macedonia some control. The only thing that's in Macedonia on that project will be the retention basin. Okay?
Right.
That's it.
It's so
So if Macedonia is fortunate enough to be in charge of the planning of that, we'll make sure that it's done correctly. But it's not in Macedonia property.
Right.
It's not within our
Northfield
corporate
Center.
boundaries.
All right, that was an excellent segue to my next subject.
Okay.
Okay. What exactly did the city do with Pulte as a result of 722 issue?
Pulte?
The developer.
Over at Preserve.
The
near
Preserve?
church.
Yeah.
What did we do?
Yeah, what did you do?
We had a meeting, and Joe Gelati and the developer and the residents from over there attended a meeting. And it was agreed, and the residents were very happy with the outcome, that they would, the developer would get in there and help clean out the retention basin, whether it was by vac or cleaning. And they have already cleaned their streets, and they are going to do everything that they can to make them whole again. And the residents replied with a response to me through Lauren Eisner, indicating that they were very happy with the outcome.
Okay, did they do anything to, if we have another 722, to prevent that?
They have taken care of every breach on the site. They have taken their retention basins. I believe Joe can further explain this, but that they have now put their controls into place on their retention. Initially, when they started to build, they were still in the raw form. So, you know, as you're moving dirt around, they didn't have all of their controls in place. Now they do.
Well, there's still many huge mounds next to homes. I mean, like, right at their foundation almost.
Well, that will be all cleaned up. If there's some mounds that are you referring to mounds that are downstream that went across the street to the preserve?
Right at,
You're talking Melody.
Melody Lane.
Yeah. Melody?
He's not
Yeah.
talking about the
Yeah.
preserve.
Yeah, I didn't see anything from the Melody Lane residents that they were thrilled yet. But,
well, this is where you're heading down to the post office?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
If there's anything that was created as a result of their actions in there, we're having them clean it up.
Okay.
I think the question would be, this was the question that was brought last time from the resident, that there was wetlands and that the wetlands were taken away.
You know-
When I talked to Lauren, he said they really weren't wetlands. There's a disparity of that. But there is a mound built there, but that's because they're building and they're still, they haven't even, did they
Well,
start
first
one
off-
house yet? They're still in the middle of building.
The wetlands that was affected, obviously, was not under the control of the city, and it was a very
Right.
small amount of wetlands. And the area to which some of the Melody residents had experienced some additional water coming through, not as a result of that project. In fact, we have investigated that water was due to the heavy rainfall that we are encountering. In fact, Joe Gelati, our city engineer, will talk about that shortly and talk about how much more rainfall that we're encountering today than we've ever encountered before, based on reports that have come through weather and other things that we're seeing. So anyhow, go ahead.
Okay. As far as development, you said we're 90% developed, whatever that number was.
Yeah.
When you were mayor before, one of the comments that I remember you saying, there isn't that much more to develop.
That's right.
Okay, those were, I think, pretty much your words. The 90% is like, there isn't that much more to develop. So you're saying the same thing now that you did when you were mayor years ago. I don't get it.
Well,
Did we acquire land?
look at the development that's occurred in the city.
That's what I'm saying.
Since I've left. Well, no, those are lands that were existing. I mean, we talk about the crossings, that's with Northfield Center. We have a piece of that. Okay, that's great. We have the commons, that's been developed. All what you see on 82 are all infill. Alexandria Square. Have you seen any more commercial rezoning in this community?
No, I don't pay attention. I really don't pay
Well,
attention.
what I'm saying to you,
Until I
John-
see something going
What
up.
I'm saying to you is that I don't see any change, major change in this city's zoning for the past 30 or 40 years.
Well, see, I don't follow zoning.
Okay, well,
That's really not my
I
business.
can tell you, being the longest elected official of this city, that there has not been any major changes in zoning. What we have is what we're dealing with. I mean, nothing's really changed. There's been some infills here and there, but anything major.
When I drive down any street, let's Shepherd Road, whatever, and I see lots of trees there, that's a candidate for development. There can be 4, 5, 10, 81 houses put on there.
Are you talking about where the Y is, though? Because
I'm
that's the
just saying
biggest part
anywhere.
of development that's
If
not.
I go down and I look at a place where there's trees, they can be gone. Okay, this is what Pulte just did and created a problem.
There's
It
only
can
two
be
I can-
anywhere.
But there's only two I can think of, Shepherd, and one is the Y,
No,
which
I'm
cannot be
just using-
developed.
I use
And
it
then
as
there's
an
a house
Well,
with,
you
I'm
have to-
there's a
looking at Macedonia in
farmhouse.
general.
Let's talk about the site that the Faith Fellowship Church is on, which, as you may know, that dated back to the date when Ernie Firestone owned that property.
Yes.
Then it went to Johnson Manor. When Faith Fellowship took that property over, they sold off the property to the other side of the street to the preserve. That's where the preserve was built. behind them, when they were building the crossings, they sold all the dirt, and Independence scarified the property and moved the dirt over to the crossings. They obviously, the church benefited from that, and now the church wanted to sell the site which was behind them, which they had all the right in the world to sell. So now they've sold the site, and now it's going to be developed into a housing development.
Okay, so we still have
Yeah.
more to develop.
This is only phase one, by the way, I think of that, this causing.
I mean, there's 84 homes or so that are going to be built in there.
Well,
Yes.
I also had heard from your friend Sue Belt lives in that development on Ledge. I had heard
There's
from
another
Mr.
phase.
Koblenz that they have a phase.
Yeah,
I
Mr.
only ran into Mr. Koblenz Subway, and there's another phase that they're gonna start
Right,
building.
well, but that was approved many years ago. That's the Lombinger property that was sold to a developer, and then there was different pieces of property within his,
Right, there's gonna be
property.
Will
houses
that
up
take
there.
more trees
yeah,
out?
so they're, well, yeah, they're gonna have to take more trees down over there, and,
Right,
but that was approved, when I think about it, it was probably approved back in the, in 2000, somewhere 2001, 2 or 3 or something.
I never knew there was a second phase till
That-
Chris
Interject
ran
that-
into Chris.
I mean, the city doesn't own the land. So that, we don't have control on what the property owner
do.
wants to do. If they want to develop it into housing, and if it's zoned that way,
Yeah.
there's very little that the city can do to stop it. And that, and that's one thing I think
I
that.
I disagree with you,
Well-
because it's been done. It was done by, at the golf course, Boston Mills Golf Course. They wanted to load that up where, you had houses that were,
It
basically on
probably needed,
top
it
of
probably
each other.
needed rezone though, and they probably voted down the rezoning.
Well,
Tom,
yeah, they did.
Tom, you're here, would that warrant a lawsuit if someone said it's zoned, what I want to do with it, and now you're saying no? I mean, that just, why not, would be the answer. And
Well-
then that opens the city up for some litigation that, I mean, we don't own the property, I wish we did, but we don't own it, so we
No.
can't control what goes on.
well, we can, of course, to some extent. We
To
can't,
some extent, but.
obviously, that's the point of the zoning laws, but
Well-
that we can control some of it, and we
Well,
can,
it-
but we
You know, I
can't.
would call on Tom Hanslek, and Tom probably is very familiar with this case, because it was the property that was where right in Mayfield,
Costco.
in 91, where Costco's is.
Right.
That was a precedented case in the state of
yeah.
Ohio, by the way. Tom, you want to elaborate on that?
And it was huge, and Mayfield Heights has a tough situation because of the fact that it's probably 90% residential, but then you have that area that's right around 271 Mayfield Road, that behind the houses that were there, when my parents lived there, behind their houses, there was all that land that abutted 271. And there was an attempt to prohibit the development of the northern portion of that land. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the city lost. And not only did the city lose, but it had to pay attorney's fees, which is not necessarily a bad thing if you're the attorney. But then, it said, but it wasn't a precedent-setting case. It was one case that followed precedent from all previous cases, which is if it's zoned appropriately, you can't prevent that owner, that developer, from developing that property. So yes, you can control it to the standpoint of building restrictions, certain zoning and building requirements.
That's right.
But other than that, you're opening yourself up, yes, to litigation.
I mean-
Prohibit, no.
I mean, it goes back to the
Control, yeah.
first thing about the Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, I don't think anyone up there wants to see their Dunkin' Donuts, but we don't have the right to say, no, you can't put it there. And that's, I mean, am I wrong in saying
We
that?
could have created impediments anyway.
Well, there's a bigger issue at play here, is that
We
you'll
didn't.
be in court, as our
I'm
legal
just saying.
department alluded to, and.
We didn't.
Some of these folks may not remember, but that church initially wanted to put an amphitheater back there to sing gospel music. And people came in here and said, oh my God, are you crazy? And I went, of all the things to say no to, that's probably what I would want to have across the street. Well, look what we ended up with. It comes down to be careful what you wish for. Same thing with the soccer stadium. A lot of people were up in arms, you're going to have kids over there running around, and, they're going to kick soccer balls into the wall. And I think they answered every question, not to dive into that, but they're going to put nets around it so that if the ball goes up towards the edge of the building where it's going to be metal, they won't hear it. The alternative could be, you could have some type of manufacturing back there where there's trucks coming in and out of there. You know, we can't control that. I hear all the time people say, well, how many more mattress factories and tire shops are we gonna get?
Don't want any more, but
I don't want any more either, but I found a great place at Discount Tire. They are pretty good. They do free flat repairs too, if you don't buy your tires. But long story short,
We're advertising.
we can't control them. And Mrs. Hannikin alluded to it, yeah, we can, but yeah, if we want to sit in court and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars like we have with other issues we've had, that's not the road we need to go down. I agree with you. I'd like to see more green space myself, but
Well, we could have
what are we
more.
going to do at this point?
I'm happy to see that some of the mattress places are moving out. Just a comment.
Me too.
Okay.
Yes.
As far as this solicitation thing, I'm going to look at it, and it all sounded good before, but what does it really mean? When you come right down to the bottom here, it says, Mayor added that Macedonia High School and Boys and Girl Scouts, our community, they'll have permission to come, okay, and others fundraiser groups, okay?
Right, sure.
Is that it? So no one else can come knocking?
Well,
at your door?
here's how this works, John, because there's a constitutionality of issues here. Everybody has a right to come into a community and solicit, and we will still have them register with the city, but if they come to a door and they see no soliciting on their mailbox and one on their door, and they knock on that door, we can revoke their permit. And that's what this is all about. So if you as a resident don't want anybody to come to your door and you put that sticker on your door and on your mailbox, and somebody comes to your door and you call us, we will revoke the permit of that individual or that entity, whatever is soliciting, and they will no longer be able to solicit within our city.
Okay, now, the question I have, many of you are up for reelection. If I want to go around and canvass, is that soliciting? I guess it is. If I want to canvass and say, I would like to support a person, can I knock on a door even though they have the red sticker?
Well, I think a candidate could walk to your door and not be in violation. That's just my opinion. However, technically, I think that if there's no soliciting, that they may not be able to approach your door.
I was told in my first election, and people had signs on their doors then, if it says no, you don't knock. You have to respect that person. And I was told legally at that point in time, I did not go to those houses.
Okay, all right.
I mean, if I come to your door, you're going to throw me out?
Well, you have to get in first before I can throw you out.
But you don't have to worry about that about me.
I'm gonna make a comment, and maybe you won't like it, but I really dislike the fact that whoever made the decision, whether it was council, if it was engineering, whoever it was, the fact that the city buckled under to the wants and needs of the Marriott. I think that was poor, totally poor. I know what you said before, we talked out in the hall there.
Yep.
I just totally disagree with it.
I appreciate what
And
you're
I'm
saying.
entitled in
John.
my opinion.
Okay, you're entitled to your opinion. I'll say this just overall, and then we'll move on to our meeting here. We have one more person that would like to speak, but I'll just say this. The city gets condemned for the fact that we go out for a tax increase because we need money, okay? So, and if we don't go out and do economic development and bring in a good tax base, then we're going to be blamed for not doing what we need to do to build the tax base so you as a resident and others don't have to dig into your pockets. So you have to find that happy median there. And the Marriott is an upscale facility that is far better than any other type of motel that we could possibly have in our city. And when I talk to the Vista Spring people, and I talk to the Girl Scouts, and I talk to other business entities in our community, they're excited about that, and residents, because now they will have a place that when they have family to visit, they can stay in an upscale, nice place, right in our center of our town, okay? And I think that's really important for us. You know, Twinsburg's got the Hilton. I'd love to have a Hilton. I'm working on a Hilton. I'd love to get one in our town. I'd like to take down other motels that we have in our town, I won't mention names, and get rid of them. And they're problematic for the city. And I think that they were built at a time, if you notice that those like the La Quinta and what is the country? Suites or whatever, you have to enter in and go to a front desk and disperse into the building. Those other older type of hotels that we have, motels, is where you come in, check in, and you ride around the building and find a door to get into. Those are the ones that create problems for us. And we're working very hard at it. And I was going to talk about that in a little bit when I get to my mayor's report. So anyhow, Paul, and I don't even want to try to butcher your last name.
Yeah, Labonte.
Labonte, okay, I was going to say that, but.
Paul Labonte, 26-year resident of 960 Ledge Road. As I come in here tonight and look at the crowd, there's more of you than there is of us.
Correct.
So I would think, as a community, we want to get more people involved. And as somebody who's just over 50 now, who is wanting to get involved, who is wanting to understand a little bit more about my city, I would say, what would you say would be the best way to do that?
By the fact that you just came here and said you want to get involved, I might just put you on a board or a commission.
Awesome. Can I select?
Since you looked in the last row, though, I'm not sure that.
Well, no, we have been residents for a long time, and I got to be honest, as a resident with kids that are just last one graduated high school, you know, outside of opening the paper and going, ooh, it looks like it was exciting, they had some grief, you know, and just looking at the paper like that, I really haven't gotten involved in the city and understanding what's going on. And there's probably a lot of different topics that I should be at least knowledgeable about. One of them would be transparency. Create a wonderful city. Put people in charge that you have faith and trust in. And I would want to be able to have some type of transparency to see, as you said earlier, and I like hearing it, let's see your tax dollars, see how they're spent. If there would be a good and easy way for the common man to go in anywhere, and maybe it exists now, I don't know, where I can go to Macedonia City and say, give me a allowance breakdown of where we're at, what we've gained, what our tax base is, something just easy, nothing too crazy. This is what we earn in taxes every year. This is our normal expenses, electric, lights, our home, right? Same thing. And then this is our slush fund, this is our discretionary money. I don't know how it breaks down, but something fairly common that we could look at it and understand. I think it would be a good thing to have.
We currently do have that. And in fact, you know, we have an open records law in the state of Ohio.
Okay.
So if you as a resident came in and said, hey, I would like to have the financial report of the city, we would deliver it to you.
Awesome.
It's open record. But we are also on the
Ohio checkbook.
The Ohio checkbook, which I think causes us time and energy to be involved in that, but nevertheless we're doing it. It takes a lot of effort from our finance department to keep it up. But having said that, we still have the open records law. And so if you as a resident or any resident wants to see that information, it's available.
So as my mayor, I would say, how are we looking as a city?
How are we looking?
Give me a bill of health.
Well, let me say this to you. I think we're doing a lot better now that we got the increase in income tax. We're now able to tackle all of our roads. Are we on top of everything? No. Are we working towards bringing in additional economic development pieces into the city? We're trying. We're trying to build our tax base up and get it stronger. So that you as a resident don't have to dig into your pocket any deeper. But I was going to be talking tonight about what did the legislature just do in our state. They just passed a law where they now, and the governor signed, where they can now collect our city income tax and then charge us for it, okay?
Like a ransom?
So, not a ransom, but a bad thing. It's an erosion from the state of Ohio and through the governor and through our legislators to take advantage of our local governments and take monies away from us and take away our ability to have cash flow. It's wrong.
So how'd they do that?
How did they do that? Because they don't care about what's going on in the local levels. You know what they're telling the local level people? You want more? You pay for it.
That person.
And we're not represented well down at the state of Ohio, down in both houses. They take advantage. We're at grassroots. We deal with you as the people. They're taking advantage of us. They've taken away home rule on every front that they could possibly take it away. They took away the inheritance tax and they put it into their coffers. They've taken the building codes and took and made that so that it was uniform. They didn't care about the locals and they didn't care about the unborn people that are buying into homes. They have continued to deteriorate home rule of a local community at the state level. So if there's anybody you really want to beef with, go beef with our legislators down in Columbus.
I don't want to beef at all. I
and
just
our
want to
governor.
educate myself.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, sir.
But there is an article that was in that the, even the legislature, the Republican and Democrats, are very tired of what happened to the local dollars based on the governor's recommendations, and there's a move afoot to look at to see how can they, and that's, you know, when we talk about the recession that we had, and at that point in time is right when they started moving a lot of the dollars
Away
that
from
we
us
got
and into
away
them?
from us.
Yeah,
That's what they're
that's a
taking a
problem.
look at. The only other thing you might want to mention is your TIF, what a TIF does.
Yeah, a tax increment finance district, which is what we're creating over a lot of properties. What we're able to do by doing that is that we're able to not only collect the 9.3% of the city's portion of that, but we're able now to pick up another 20% of the county and other agencies that would have gotten that other 20%. We're not touching the school's amount, but we're then able to take those dollars, put it into our coffers, and use it for infrastructure, for whatever needs that we have. And that's what the TIF is that we're doing currently throughout the city.
Awesome. My last question, and I'll go back, would be, what do you see as our biggest challenge for the next 2 to 3 years?
Our biggest challenge is to get more safety forces out onto the road, making our city more safer. I think that that's probably a key issue that we will have in getting more policemen out onto the road and keeping our community as safe as we possibly can with all of the shopping area that we currently have and our daytime population in this city. Our fire department is working very well. You know, as you may know, we have extended ourselves now into Northfield Center, into Sagamore, and that process has worked very well. They're very happy with our services that we're doing there, and we will obviously go back to the table and continue to negotiate with them because their calls have increased, and the cost of operating fire departments is not an inexpensive proposition. But when you pick up that phone and you've had that heart attack, you want that squad there within 3 minutes. Why? Because you only got one life. And you want that squad there, and you want paramedics to respond, and you want to get you to the hospital as quickly as possible. And those are the services now that we are offering, not only to our own residents, but to Northfield Center and Sagamore. And it's been working out very, very well. Sagamore has given us nothing but accolades over our services that their residents are receiving today. So.
Can I make one point?
Sure.
You mentioned that, you know, you don't know anything until you open up the newspaper, the actual physical paper. That's the biggest problem that we have, because obviously when the newspaper writes an article, they want drama. They want you to open up the paper and go, oh God, they're fighting again. But they're giving you this much, and when there's so much more going on that, you know, I can't tell you how many times people come up and say, all you guys do is fight. It's like, well, that's what they're telling you. We have spirited arguments at times, but I wouldn't say we're fighting all the time. The past year, I think, has gone somewhat well. We're actually working together. But at the end of the day, if you don't watch it or you don't ask questions, you know, I can't give you a good answer on that. But the newspaper wants to sell you on their drama. And they're always gonna pick the one little piece that gets you to go, oh man, there's that Miglerini again.
Thank goodness that paper is free.
I use it to start my campfires.
Well, you could give Julie a free chance to talk about.
Well, there's different sources. I'm just talking about the physical newspaper itself. You know, I'm not going to dog them all, but we see what's going on in the national media right now. Well, I mean, it's all drama all the time. Regardless of what side you're on, if they're going to put something on and say, well, Trump said this or this guy protested that, you're clicking in.
The only thing is that Nordonia Hill News shows tapes, the council meetings, as well as city has the council meetings online.
I have, yeah, I've seen them.
Right.
I've checked in.
But being here, we like talking to humans and not the green chairs.
Well, yeah, I agree, and I think considering, and I don't know if you're gonna talk about it or even if it's still something to consider, bringing all the communities together and creating a super community, that's, you would hope to get more people in a seat. And no offense to anybody in the room, but people that are gonna have some longevity in the community, that really should be involved. You know, 50 years old or so, and you've got, you know, getting some people experience, that would be important moving forward.
Well, I'll just mention this to you, is that back in the day when I became an elected official, it was my feeling back then that all of the Nordonia community should be one.
Nordonia Hills.
And here I sit, some 40-plus years later, still being an elected official in this town, and I can tell you that it should be one. And I am working on something, okay? Just, I'll leave it like that.
And Nordonia Hills News does put our meetings up, and I have had people tell me, I can't believe, and, you know, I watched it and saw this or that. I'm not going to go into detail because it's somewhat personal, but they always say, wow, I actually watched a meeting, and how do you, you know, or what did you say, or what were you thinking, or how did that person say that? So when you see it, your opinion is obviously going to be different. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our regular portion of this meeting now, and
Really?
yeah, I think we got there. This is pending legislation, and I think the first item on the agenda is ordinance number 62.
Yes, I'd like to offer ordinance number 62, 2017, for its third reading by title only.
An ordinance declaring the improvements to a certain parcel of real property to be a public purpose, describing the public improvements to be made to directly benefit such parcel, requiring the owner of the improvements on such parcel to make service payments in lieu of taxes, establishing a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund for the deposit of such service payments and related authorizations pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code sections 570940, 570942, and 570943.
You've heard the reading?
I move we pass and post ordinance number 62, 2017, according to law.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No? We have two noes? Two noes? Why don't we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bilkey?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
No.
Ms. Hannikin?
No.
Mr. Molnar?
Yes.
And Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Okay, the motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 63, 2017.
Council, Mr. Mayor, I move to offer ordinance number 63, 2017 for its third reading by title only.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Village of Glen Willow, the Village of Oakwood, and the City of Twinsburg relative to the services at the intersection of Richmond, Broadway, Shepherd, Ravenna Roads.
You've heard the reading?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post ordinance number 63, 2017 to the same according to law.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 67.
You know, hold this is-
Yeah, do you want me to just read them all? You want me to read them all at the same time,
Yeah,
Josephine?
not-
Well, we're going to ask Mr. Hanslick. Mr. Hanslick, they're holding 67, 68, 69, and 70 all at second reading. You can't really do them collectively unless you want to?
Yeah, by motion sheet.
Yeah, so he'll mention all four numbers.
Okay.
Okay.
So I move to offer ordinance number 67, 68, 69, and 70, 2017 to be held at second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Okay, next item on the agenda would then be 71?
73.
73, I'm sorry, 73.
So now we're on to ordinance number 73, 2017. I'd like to offer that ordinance for its first, second, and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 19, 2017 relative to the annual appropriations for additional expenditures of the City of Macedonia for the period January 1, 2017 to December 31st, 2017.
You've heard the reading.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer that we pass and post according to law ordinance number 73, 2017, please.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions?
Maybe we should just explain that this is the right-of-way payment, the last payment.
Yes,
Right, let the
this
mayor
is,
explain it.
this was as a result of the 271 and the new off-ramp, or on-ramp, I should say, into 271, and there was some land acquisition of some commercial properties along that stretch. This is the last parcel that is being handled, and this was land acquisition that the state of Ohio took from that property, and we are finalizing it now. Okay, hearing no other questions, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion's carried. Next item on the agenda would be number 74.
Mr. Mayor, I'd offer ordinance 74, 2017 for first reading by title only.
An ordinance amending section 1365-13 of the codified ordinances of the City of Macedonia regarding
Okay. Next item on the,
waste collection practices. All
I
right.
thought, yeah.
Yeah, I
gonna
went, actually, I went blank for a minute. Obviously, I went blank.
I thought you were taking a breather.
No, I looked down and
It's
I
okay.
zoned
Faked us out.
somewhere else.
We could call that a senior moment.
We're not gonna do that, sir. That was highly inappropriate.
Okay,
Let's
next
move
item.
on, right? I move to offer ordinance number 75, 2017 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion's carried.
An ordinance amending chapter 1377 of the codified ordinances of the City of Macedonia regarding swimming pools.
Okay, you've heard the reading.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend ordinance 75, 2017 to include the removal of the ladder on pools over 48 inches rather than just locking them as a substitution.
Second.
Dave, could that be that you can say it in this fashion, that you can either lock the ladder and or remove it?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion's carried. Next item on the agenda,
I think I need that.
oh, that was the amendment, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Yes,
So should I say as amended?
as amended.
So I moved to offer, or I moved pass ordinance number 75, 2017 as amended according to law.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second again. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is resolution number 76.
I offer resolution 76, 2017 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion's carried.
A resolution authorizing the city engineer to prepare bids and specifications and thereafter advertise for bids for the Sioux Lane Culvert Replacement Project.
Okay, you've heard the reading.
For a long time coming, I offer to pass and post according to law, resolution 76, 2017.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And again, are there any
I
questions?
just have one. This is an ONRSD project that we're going to get the
Yes.
bid and they're going to pay for it.
Correct.
And they're going to pay us back.
Correct. This is being funded through NERSD. This project was started just before I got into office. We rejected the bids. They were very high. We had our new city engineer revise and make some changes, and then NERSD entered the picture, and they are now picking up 100% of this project at this time.
Is this money coming out of our savings account with NEOSRD?
No, this
or
is not coming out of our savings account.
Okay.
This is monies that is separate and apart from our savings.
That's regional.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is resolution number 77.
I move to offer resolution number 77, 2017.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
For first, second, and third reading?
Yeah.
Yeah, what are we reading?
Well, I'm sorry, we had to go through 3 readings.
Yeah.
For first, second, and third reading by title
And who
only.
was the second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
A
Motion's-
resolution,
Go ahead.
a resolution confirming the appointment by the mayor of Terry Repack to the City of Macedonia Board of Zoning and Building Code Appeals.
You've heard the reading. What is your pleasure?
I move that we pass and post resolution number 77, 2017, according to law.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I see that Terry's here with his wife.
You got to give a speech.
And Terry, we normally ask at this point that you stand up.
No, I made him leave the speech at
Oh, I would love to hear that speech.
On those, especially on those nights when he's going to be gone at a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. And then you're going to, Terry, you want to say anything?
Yes, I do.
You sure?
Thank you.
Microphone, please.
Thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Labonte, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
I showed up a few times, and here I am. So, thank you.
Yeah, well, we couldn't ask for a better person to sit on our Board of Zoning Appeals. He's an architect, he's a retired individual living in our town, certainly has an interest in the outcome of what goes on in our town, and we appreciate that you're having the willingness to serve, and we thank your wife for allowing you to serve. So that's more important, by the way. So, thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Congratulations. Thank you, Terry. And Terry's wife. That was the last item on the agenda, but we are at that point in the meeting where we can have correspondence. Are there any correspondence, Josephine?
Yes, Mayor, I have a lot, we didn't read them the last time, so we're okay with this?
Okay.
Or do you want me to, I'll wait another month if you'd like.
Well, now you might as well get it out of the way.
Okay.
It's only 8:35.
On behalf of the girls, I would like, and this is from Regan Hill Troop 90484. On behalf of the girls, I would like to thank, this is to Macedonia City Council and the mayor, to thank you all and the members of the City Council for allowing the Daisy Girl Scout Camp to come and take a tour of City Hall and the police station this past year. The girls really enjoyed meeting the mayor and seeing the building. We would also like to especially thank Councilor Kevin Bilkey for being with us on our tour and our tour guide and helping the girls learn about respecting authority. This field trip allowed the girls to finish earning their Jerry the Geranium Petal. Jerry, okay, didn't think I read that correctly, but I did. This is to Chief Golden. Dear Chief Golden, this afternoon I struck an object on the road while exiting 271 South. I was stopped on the left shoulder of the curve with cars going 60 miles an hour. I did not feel safe, and I was not in a safe place, nor did the truck tow operator that AA had dispatched also felt unsafe. The Officer Snyder, Terry Snyder, thank you. Officer Snyder responded. He was polite and professional and created a safe zone with his patrol car. Our tow truck operator said he would not have been able to change the tire otherwise, and that Officer Snyder had his back. Thank you again for this assistance. Marcy Kaplan, PhD, RN with Kent State University. Dear Mayor Miglerini, I hope this letter finds you in great spirits and good health. Please allow me to thank you and your office for the wonderful opportunity to host the first scholarship luncheon at the Macedonia City facility. You are aware of the startup nonprofit requires honest hard work and consistency. The Ohio Sister Circle, Inc. which I should have prefaced with this, I'm sorry, has committed to the mandate and will strive to find opportunities to instruct our youth, improve our community, and impact the future. Teaming up with the Nordonia Hills High School and Principal Casey Wright was simply the right choice. Principal Wright has been a huge inspiration to my sons and have impacted the lives of so many who have come in his path. This did not go unnoticed, and this is not the only part or the reason for the school district and community. The school district and the community means the world to our family. So giving back has come easy. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to your continued support. Sharon Clark of the Ohio Sister Circle. Mr. Nanavenge, are you going to read anything about reworks and how much was recycled? The mayor has given me the letter about reworks. Did you want me to?
Yeah, you
okay.
can.
Okay. I didn't want to be repetitive, and nobody likes hearing me read. I guarantee it. Dear Mayor Miglerini, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of Reworks, I would like to thank the City of Macedonia for acting as a host of an on-site document shredding and recycling event held on July 8th of this year. The goal of the Reworks on-site document shredding and recycling events is to provide all the Summit County residents and businesses a means to properly dispose and recycle their business and personal documents. At this document shredding event, 488 Summit County residents and businesses attended, recycling 31,112 pounds, or 56.56 tons, of unwanted documents and 536 pounds of cardboard. Of the 488 attending, 141, or 29%, were residents of the City of Macedonia. We were able to also shred 150 boxes of the city's archived files at this event. And I should point out, this is through our retention program, so it's all very legitimate. We just aren't throwing away anything. It is always a pleasure working with your city. The service department employees were extremely helpful with the site selection preliminarily planning and setup. They did an excellent job with traffic control on the day. We welcome the opportunity to partner with the city in the future. This is Marcy Kress, the Executive Director of Reworks. And Mayor Miglerini asked me to read an email from the resident of the Preserves, Mr. Lauren Eisner. And first, I would like to thank the 4 council members who took the time to come to our development to see the damage that has been done to our lake. I also thank the mayor for having a meeting where 11 families from our development were represented at the meeting, with Joe Gelati, the city engineer, and Greg Modick from Petro's Development. Many of us would like to attend this month's city council meeting on August 11th, but unfortunately, this evening, August 17th, but unfortunately, our homeowner board meeting with our management company is scheduled for that night, and we have those meetings only once every 2 months. We are still looking for a solution to the damage that was been done. Over the last few weeks, Petros has taken measures and installed a runoff and drainage system that likely will prevent such damaging events from happening in the future. Petros has been trying to figure out a way to get equipment onto our property to effectively operate a backhoe and relocate or remove the dirt and debris. We have yet to hear how much responsibility the city and the church are willing to accept for not taking actions on conditions that they knew existed that contributed to damage done at our lake. I think everyone who has seen our lake agrees the considerable amount of dredging needs to be done. Please update me or the association board members on what commitments the city is willing to do. That is it, and I know that you're all thankful that I stopped reading.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Mayor's report. I'm sure that everybody who's driving up and down 82 looks at our Memorial Park, which is now going to become the new Veterans Memorial Park, which is, I'm proud to be a part of this, if you will. It's really starting to take shape. The plaza has been poured. Our service department workers have been outstanding in the hard work that they have done to get us to this point. We've been doing a lot of the stuff in-house. It obviously has unfortunately sacrificed other jobs that we have ongoing in the city. But we made a commitment to the veterans that we would get it done by the September memorial ceremony that we're going to have there. And once we get the once we get the plaza set in place, the next step will be to start running the paths throughout the site and getting them gravelled and ultimately get them concreted in, and then the pavers will then follow thereafter. They have done a wonderful job, that is both the VFW and Post 801, in raising funds for this project. And now when people see it, they feel like, okay, I see something there, so I want to make a contribution. And we're finding that a lot of people are starting to make contributions because they can actually physically see something being done there. So it's coming together very well. Obviously, the flagpoles are up. The banner of saying Veterans Memorial is up. And we're going to have, I guess, the ceremonies on September 16th. I think it's at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm not positive, but oh, here's, were you going to mention? 1 o'clock, I'm sorry. 1 o'clock on Saturday. Thank you. Were you going to talk about that? No. Oh, okay.
We just all got our invite.
Okay. So we're really excited about that, and those that would like to come and participate and see what's going on, we'd love to see you out there. We have completed the park entrance. If you noticed up at Longwood Park, we have put up a new sign, we've put up a wall, we put up some pillars, we've concreted it in, and I think it looks beautiful. We have the new digital sign up there, and it all came together fairly well. We have also completed the dugouts up at the park. We have all the new dugouts that are all brick now, and we have paths leading now to the right where the from the dugouts now to up to the point where you get into the to the ball field itself. And because unfortunately the kids used to sit there and stand in water all the time, so now they have a concrete base to stand in, and they have a shelter over their heads, and it became much more professional after we got done with that. So we're excited, and again, the service department did a lot of work up there. They built all of the dugouts, by the way, and assisted and did all the concrete work, and we were able to come in and get all that work done for next to cheap. So that's the fortunate thing when we do it in-house and we're able to do that. But again, it comes at a price because we sacrifice other things to get done at the same time. So they're stretched very thin in getting it done. We only have 15 guys in our service department. When I was mayor before, we used to have 22 guys, and we're really short. We really could use, when you asked where the city was, we really could be back up to 22 if we want to continue to do the amount of work that we do in the city. You know, the round building at the corner of Highland and 8, that entire corner, I've been working with a developer to redevelop that. They finally bought the round building. They're going to be tearing it down in the next couple weeks. We're getting, which is not something I really wanted to see on the corner, but I will have to accept it because, again, we can't dictate what we get necessarily. When a developer brings in something and it's something that's going to work on his land, he's going to bring it forth. But he's proposing 3 buildings there, and the first building is going to be a Kentucky Fried Chicken. We've had a Kentucky Fried Chicken in our town before,
Right.
But we're getting another one, and this one's going to be on that corner. And there's 2 other buildings which we don't know what's going in there. We're also working with the idea of redeveloping the Motel 6 site as well as the property behind that, and giving direct access to the high school for exiting out onto Highland Road after games and after major events there, because it's very, very congested on South Bedford. And so our efforts are going to continue to be that get that relief valve in there for the high school. So we're working on that. But what's really kind of neat is that the 2 horses that sit out in front of the round building, believe it or not, those are solid granite. And in order to reproduce those 2 horses, would cost you around $25,000 to $26,000 each. And I went to the developer and I said, I want those horses for the city. So we're getting those horses, and we're moving those horses, and I just haven't figured out where yet.
Nordonia Nights.
Yeah, Nordonia Nights. I didn't think about that. Maybe we should put them over there.
You just need a night, that's all.
Yeah, we need a night to put on
The
there.
night just leaves.
So we had thought, you know, we thought that they would probably be fitting to go up to the park, and I was thinking maybe at the entranceway to the manor house. So that was one idea. We'll have to build a pedestal for them and put them up in the air because I don't want kids to come in there and start mounting them, you know, so they got to be put up in the air. But that was one idea. But we're still open for thoughts and ideas on this. And we had a staff meeting yesterday, and we were brainstorming where should we put these horses. They're worth a lot of money, so we're going to be accepting this contribution from Cedarwood, which is who's going to be donating them to us. So I think they'll be around for a long time because they are solid granite, and they're pretty neat. I don't know if I mentioned this at any of our previous meetings, but we had received CDBG funding, grant funding, for renovating our community room downstairs. It was about $50,000.
50,000.
50,000, just around 50,000. So what we're going to go down there and do is we're going to put new carpeting, ceilings, redo the kitchen, redo the bathrooms downstairs, new flooring. We're going to kind of enclose some of our pillars down there. We're going to dress it up so that, you know, that's where our seniors have all their luncheons. We're going to make it a little bit more appealing down there as they come in and fix up the bathroom. So I'm excited that we were able to get that money, and I thank Sherry for working on that project with us. She works in the fire department, Sherry Kuzma, and she was very instrumental in filling out the application and getting it down to the county and helping us get that grant. So I thank Sherry for that. Recreation improvements. As you know, we have about $1.2 million in dollars available for the recreation building. There's obviously a number of improvements that need to be done there. One that we're working on is the bathrooms. And we may have to put an addition on to the back of the building in order to expand the bathrooms correctly. We're going to take the existing woman's room and make that into a family changing room. There's just not enough room. Everybody complains that there is not enough room in the locker rooms. They're not adequate enough. Unfortunately, we never thought we were going to have 5,500 memberships in that facility. And as we continue to grow, we need to remodel it. We need to make it the state of the art. So we're going to be in there trying to get all of those things done in that facility. The residual dollars that we have, by the way, were dollars that are residual from the income tax and the bond issue, or the bond that we had, that is left over, so the money has to be spent back into the recreation. So I can't take those dollars and spend them on roads. I can't spend them on anything but that building, okay? So I want to make that very clear so that the rumor mill gets out there and says, oh, we got $1.2 million, or we can go spend it on this or that or the other. It has to be spent there. So I just want to make that clear, because I know how things get misinterpreted. That certainly does happen. And let's see, I think that ends my reports, and I'll keep, I have some floor plans I'm going to give to the Recreation Committee to start looking at for the renovation of those bathrooms and the changing, family changing area. So I just wanted to bring everybody up to date on that. With that, I'm going to move on to committee reports. Do we have any committee reports?
Can I ask one question?
Not really, John, but we'll let you. Go ahead. Actually, we ended that part of it, but if it's real quick, I can certainly answer.
Yeah, 1.2 million, does that take care of the roof also? Is it redoing it?
The roof has been done through insurance.
Oh,
Okay.
better yet.
Yeah. It certainly is.
Oh, and you improved the lighting in the parking lot.
And the lighting, correct, yes, LED lighting. Committee reports. None? Okay, hearing none. Department reports, so we'll go to John.
And a lot to cross off.
Okay.
Quite a bit of it. So, nice and short, Service Department is hosting its first annual fall cleanup event. This will be held on September 9th, Saturday, from the hours of 9 a.m. to noon. You can check in at the fire station, the old fire station right next door here at 9683 Valley View, where we'll have service employees available to take people out there to go clean up. This is a family event. Kids are welcome. School-age kids will get service credit for attending. Upon registering, you will receive a free T-shirt and a meal ticket. Lunch will be served at noon. Also, during that week, and this is a mirror of what we do for our spring cleanup and Earth Day. But during the week of September 4th to the 10th, a dumpster will be located at the exit drive at City Hall, going out to 82. For when you want to do your fall cleanup at home, if you have that garage and shed before winter hits, be available for residents to come whenever they can for your use. So hope to see people there, and I do have flyers if anyone's interested to pass out. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Joe.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things to report on. I guess first are the roads. As we know, we're in the middle of paving roads. We've had a few questions come in regarding the processes to how we're paving the roads, so I'll touch on that briefly. The 7 roads that are currently under construction are a recycling process on those roads. And briefly it goes like this. The existing asphalt is recycled and simultaneously injected with fresh liquid asphalt to create a new asphalt base. Once that process is complete, we proof roll the roads to identify any soft areas or failed areas of that asphalt that still remain. Any of those soft or failing areas, we do a full depth repair. We dig it out all the way into the dirt below the asphalt and the gravel, replace it with all new material. Once that process is complete, we have our solid base to build upon, and we'll install an intermediate course and then a final surface course, driving course of asphalt on top to complete our road. So those are the 7 roads that are currently being worked on. That's the brief version of that process. Macedonia Commons is a little different process, a little simpler process. We simply milled off the top 2 3/4 inches of asphalt and replaced it with 2 fresh coats of asphalt, which you've seen.
I'm not laughing at you, Joe. It was me. I was breathing into the mic.
I was wondering if it was coming from back there. Figured it wasn't me.
See, everybody blames me all the time for things I do wrong.
So Joe, can you just add one quick thing to that then? Obviously, they're going to do the surface course, the last one, all at the same time, correct?
Yes.
So all the roads that have been prepped at this point are do not have the final surface course on them.
That is correct, yes.
Thank you.
That is correct.
And do you have a timeline when that's going to be done?
Yeah, I would say in about 3 to 4 weeks we'll be totally finished with those 7 roads.
Okay.
You know, Joe, I'm glad you brought clarification to this, because I think a lot of people don't understand what recycling means and what full depth repairs mean. And I think that there are, well, I read some articles out there that, I read some articles out there that Macedonia was shortchanging its residents and not getting the roads done to the degree that we said that we were going to do them. There is not a road in this city that isn't being done correctly. We're digging it down. If you got a weak spot, we're cutting them out. We're resurfacing. We're digging them out, putting in good compactable material, getting it back to grade, coming through and grinding, taking the surface courses off, and then laying down your binder coat and then your finish coat. That's typically what we do in the asphalt industry. This is no different than doing a parking lot. If you got a bad spot, you dig it out. If the street doesn't have any bad spots, but what we're also trying to do in many of the streets that are narrower streets is to pave into those berm areas and give it more extension, especially like where you live, Terry, back in through there. those streets were very narrow, and the berms actually fall off right into the ditch lines, which is a real problem. So we're trying to correct that as we go along. Now, that's a major part of what we're gonna be doing as we get into those streets that have those conditions, especially where they fall off really deeply. On Summer, we had a bad ditch situation, and we are now closing that with culvert pipes so that somebody doesn't run off the road and fall into a deep ditch over there. So we're trying to correct that. And where you live up, Shirley, in your area, you've got very deep culverts up into that area in some areas, not every area, but some of the areas.
Yes, indeed.
So we're trying to correct those as much as we possibly can without having to completely put in a complete stormwater system, because it would be just too costly. And again, the amount of work that we're doing right now in repaving is only a Band-Aid. A Band-Aid, because when I say a Band-Aid, we're gonna get the job done for the roads that we can get done, but we have a lot more roads than we do the amount of money that we're receiving. That's what I mean to say. I'm not saying we're Band-Aiding the roads. I'm saying that we just don't have enough money to do all that we would love to do in this community and get our streets up to snuff. Because the governor's taking $650,000 of our local government fund every year. And that doesn't help us. That $650,000 they could have spent on roads. Don't have it. Go ahead, Joe. You have anything?
Joe, I do have a couple of questions about this since you raised it. What is the expected longevity of these roads repairs? Are we talking like when they were done originally, maybe 35, 40 years, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, I guess I would phrase it best this way. If you had a road that was in poor condition and you simply milled off the top layer and installed a new surface course, that's a 15-year fix before you look at getting back in there. The recycling process, I would say that that's a 20-year fix, and if we maintain it properly, crack seal, rejuvenator, a little bit of preventative maintenance as we go, especially early on, maybe we get 25 years out of it before we look at having to get back in there. So
Summer Road and Skyland, which were in horrible shape, we're expecting to get 20 years out of them.
Yes, at least, yeah.
Okay,
If we maintain it properly, even more.
I understand, and that leads to my second question. Do we have someone who is doing the $425,000 that you recommended that we expend on road maintenance of the newer roads, the ones that aren't broken?
Yeah, that's part of the contract.
Right,
part
so
of the
it is
current road.
happening then?
Yeah, oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have some extensive crack seal in there and some
Okay.
other items as well.
Okay.
Can I ask one, can you also, I really appreciated when we sent out the note about the commons and that it was going to be paved and what time, so that, can we do that again when we do, because we have a couple major roads in here with Laurel, Summer, thank you for Barkdale. I mean, with all the ones that stuff to be done, that we could do the same thing and send out the notification when we're going to do that, so that whether it's during the day or at night, people are aware to avoid that.
Yeah, we can do that. That's certainly, it would be a quick warning, though, I would say that much. You know, with the commons, we were able to provide some advance warning of what's going to happen. With the other roads, it would be a lot quicker
Even if it's
notice.
a day.
That's probably what we're looking at as a day.
Right.
And those roads all certainly would be daytime work. So.
Yeah.
And also, all of South Skyland is getting done, because I know that I got a call that the news leader reported we're only doing the north side, not the south side. All of Skyland is getting done, correct?
All of South Skyland is getting done. Skyland itself is, I guess what I would call the upper Skyland portion, the old Skyland portion, which is Shepherd Road to roughly the South Skyland intersection.
Yeah, it's the stuff above Ledge Acres. And,
yeah, the area above Ledge Acres.
So it is getting done, right? Am I
So that
understanding?
part, the part that had big holes everywhere,
The
yeah.
older section
Yeah.
is getting done.
Right.
Yes, yeah, the older section. It's all of the older section is getting done.
All the
North Skyline just got done a few years ago, didn't it?
Part of it did.
That was early.
Air lane, yeah, you're right. Sorry, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Chris, you have anything you want to say?
No, thank you, Mayor, but I'll introduce myself. I normally don't come to council.
He doesn't
meetings,
come to
so
council meetings, so
I
he's like, well, what do
don't
I
have
have anything to say?
For that reason, why don't you just real quick introduce him to the people who are
Well,
here
this is
so they
Chris
know
Hall,
who
our
he
zoning
is?
inspector, and Chris has been out there hitting the pavement, trying to resolve issues that have been out there for a long time and trying to get them corrected. He unfortunately has to act like a policeman out there, and sometimes people don't like to hear what he has to say, but I think it's incumbent upon us as a city to make sure that everybody conforms to the rules and the regulations, and we get our zoning correctly, and that's how we clean up our city. So Chris is doing that job for us, and he's doing a real good job, by the way. So
I know my name and number is on the website, so if anybody has questions or issues with your neighbor, I mean, feel free to call.
Thank you. Rhonda.
Thank you, Mayor. A few numbers to bore you with again. The water maintenance and expansion fee, we still have $20,600 that has not been yet collected. It's made up from 887 accounts. Those accounts will be turned over to Summit County for special assessments come September. So if you know anybody that hasn't paid, let them know, because we'll be sending that to Summit County. For Rita, our collections for July were $671,786 compared to last year $600,883. So we're higher by $90,903. Now, this July income tax takes into effect the 2.25, so you can see it's up by $70,000, which really isn't that large of a dollar amount considering we're raising the income tax by 0.25%. Rita did inform me that this was going to be trickling in, and that's the case. We are up for the year $310,654. Also, just want to let everybody know that the senior program applications will be going out towards the end of this week, and the end of this week and into next week. You should be receiving them. If you don't get them by the end of next week, please let the service department know. Wanted to inform everybody that we are going to be stricter with the rules and regulations of the program. If you don't meet the low income requirements, just because you were on it last year doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be on it this year. You have to meet the requirements or be disabled. So if you have any questions about that, you can call myself or the service department. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ron, I have a question for you, Randy. I did go through the MDR for Macedonia, and I do see year-to-date we're 310,000 above last year.
Right.
I'm wondering about just the general flow of things, because I, again, looked at the net profit tax, and we aren't really up with that. We're just sort of flat. So it's all coming out of withholding, and it's coming out of... Is there any thought as to why? I know the jet is pretty much flat, too.
I'll check on that one. I'm
Okay,
not
thank you.
exactly sure.
Okay, Tim.
No report, Mayor.
John?
We had a couple scams come through. If you can check out the Macedonia Police Department Facebook page, we have a few scams listed. It's the same old thing, but it's amazing how many people have wrote back and said, you know, my parents got that one, I got that call. So if you can, check out our Facebook page and see some of the scams that are still going around. It's the same thing. So that's all I have.
Okay, thanks. Tom, anything?
My sympathies to the Kronjak family. Good seeing you all.
Thanks. John, do you have anything you'd like to comment?
Yeah. I think this is an important time to say something. By the way, I'll say first of all, Mr. Levanitek, is that your name?
Mm-hmm.
Say it again?
Levante.
If you're looking for a volunteer project in Macedonia that you'd like to learn some of the history of our town and the first mayor, I'm going to give you my card. I'm with the Longwood Manor Historical. We're restoring the house in the park that was the home of the first mayor. Okay, so you're still here at the meeting, so you got it.
Great.
We got the water turned on outside at the manor, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Thanks to the service department. I don't know when they did it. Must have been at midnight some night, because I go over there one day and the outside water is on, so we can finish the landscaping and plant the grass. The appearances are important to that house, the outside, trying to make it look good. I know the electrician is, Brian was over there. I know he's finishing up the electrical, the emergency lights in the restrooms, and we need a sign, and a lighted sign at the front door also. I mentioned to him a lighted exit sign like there is at the back door. So I'm wondering at this point, you know, do we need to schedule another meeting possibly before we have the inspection? Because we're coming up now, you know, kind of against deadlines. If we want to open the manor, have it open for the Wizard of Oz festival, you know, we need some time to advertise, of course, before that. And I know Angela, she's not here, but she told me that, or maybe Mr. Bilkey knows this too, she'd like to know by Labor Day if we want to talk with the rec department about possibly coordinating some activities. So I know these guys are working like crazy, because at the service department, I'm wondering if they could finish up the rest of the work and we could have a final meeting, get our ducks in a row here for the inspection. I know we need fire extinguishers in the house. So there's little things like that. Also, Mr. Mayor, is this a fire inspection or is this also a building inspection?
Well, I think we're going to, it's basically going to be a safety inspection, if you will, and it would probably be a combination of having Donnie Bell, and, you know, I'm actually going to go up there myself with them, just to make sure that everything is safe. The occupancy is very important, that everybody who's in the building is going to be safe, and that we have all the safety precautions in place. And then once that occurs, then, you know, it'll be under, you know, some sort of guidelines of how it should be occupied, and, you know, but I think we're there, almost there, you know.
Good,
obviously.
yeah, I'm,
Yeah.
yeah, we're really enthusiastic. It's been a long haul. I started this with the group in 2010. So we're looking to finish this mission, get this mission accomplished. And I want to thank the council members also, and some others that are not here anymore, for their support. They have supported all of the ordinances that had to do with the manor over the years consistently. We really appreciate that. Mr. Molnar, in fact, recommended having one ordinance. That we used to have ordinances, 12 months ordinance, to continue working on the manor, and Mr. Molnar extended one for 18 months. Thank you for that one. And these guys also overrode a veto of the mayor on one ordinance, if you recall. So, and of course, you, Mr. Mayor, have been a
So it wasn't this mayor?
Yeah,
Making this
previous mayor. They had to override his veto. So we're looking forward now to finishing this project and getting the house open.
You know, as I said before, I think I was one of the lone rangers back in the day to save this house in the beginning of time.
Do we need
Had the old
another-
guard had their way, they would have torn it down. That was
No
just,
doubt, no
that
doubt.
was where they were at. They just
Yeah.
didn't want to deal with it. They wanted to tear it down.
Yeah.
And I said, how can you tear down a man's home that gave the city over 300 acres of land, and this was his pride and joy. This was his jewel. And I think I'm glad and I appreciate the fact that you guys are working to restore it, because we certainly didn't have anybody else out there that was willing to do that.
We've got a good core of volunteers now that are working. We just, some of the members just, members just finished the curtains in the kitchen and pantry.
Yeah.
And it's looking really good. So do we need to schedule another meeting before the inspection?
I think that if we have a date certain, and John, all of those exit lights are in, then I think Chief Black, we can get Donnie and myself, and we'll go up there and do a walkthrough, and yourself as well, and make sure that it's safe. So, where are we at with the exit?
Give about a week yet.
About a week?
Yeah,
Okay.
because we're still finishing up.
Okay. Whenever we can get those exit lights in, when is the Oz Festival?
That's the
September
24th.
23rd and
September
24th.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd
So
like
is-
to have a couple of weeks, we'd like to get it in the Beacon Journal, an announcement of the opening, so we need a little lead time. I know Julie can get it in, online right away, but that would be good if we get
Yeah.
as much, you know, it sounds like a great opportunity, a great time to open, so.
You gotta address that alarm system. We've had several false alarms.
Yeah, we had a false alarm today, which, it was a fire alarm actually dropped today, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so something set it off. Was there anybody there today, you know, John?
No.
No?
No.
So,
Well, yeah, we mentioned that, yeah, that set off the police and the fire department responding.
yeah, but the
to
fire
that.
alarm had to be a smoke, didn't it?
Tim, was it
Tim?
the kitchen, right? Is that what they're reading from? Is that what you said? Was that from the
I can't
kitchen?
remember where that is.
My staff said nobody was inside today. There was someone working outside, but the door was never opened.
Yeah, I was over there outside.
And, yeah, so.
I was not in,
Right.
oh yeah, I did go inside the house, yeah.
Oh, there it is. No, it wasn't you.
You know, I wonder if I.
It was
said-
earlier. Yeah, you were there earlier though, before the afternoon.
I was in the morning.
Yeah, no, this was around between 2 and 3 o'clock.
They need to talk offline.
Does having a window open do anything to that alarm system? Okay, because we left some windows open because of the heat.
All right, John, well, we appreciate it. We'll get together and we'll get that resolved.
Ask one more question.
Sure.
These horses,
Yes,
how big are they?
big. They're big.
Like,
If you want to go to the round building, you can take a look and see
Go
how they
take a
look,
look.
but they're big.
Probably 10 foot tall.
Okay. They're
oh,
huge.
oh, okay.
That's appropriate for a horse.
I think the village of Taramina needs some.
Okay, Chief.
Horses for the entrance.
All right, do we have any other, let's see, any unfinished business? Any new business?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Motion second. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried, and we're adjourned at 9:15. Thank you all for being here. Drive carefully.